I guess my question is, Ms. Pacheco, and for anybody else on the panel too, shouldn't we be deporting these students? If we have undocumented students who are here unlawfully in the country, who are violating the law, let's just be clear here now, this is a violation of the law, and if they're also deliberately inciting persecution of a person on account of their race, which surely calling for the murder of Jews does that, shouldn't we be deporting them? Does anybody think we shouldn't be? Shouldn't we be deporting these students who are here unlawfully? Ms. Pacheco?
Senator, we expect a lot from our scholars, and the scholars and the students that I know love this country, respect this country, and want to and enrich not only the campuses, but also this country.
That's fantastic, and I hope and bet that none of the people that you sponsor are part of this. And I certainly hope that's the case. But I just wondered, is there anybody on the panel who thinks that we should not deport students who are here unlawfully, who are engaging in this activity, who are calling for the death of Jewish students, who are violating the laws of the United States? I mean, shouldn't we be deporting these people?
A tense Senate hearing turned explosive the moment Senator Hawley shifted the focus to a question many say has been avoided for far too long. What began as a routine discussion about student support programs quickly transformed into a national reckoning over law, order, and accountability. Cameras captured a packed room as Hawley pressed a witness about undocumented students and their involvement in disruptive campus protests. The atmosphere changed as images of illegal encampments and inflammatory slogans loomed large behind the questioning. Reports of threats against Jewish students added a chilling weight to the conversation. This was no longer a theoretical debate about policy or activism. It was a confrontation rooted in real incidents, real fear, and real consequences. Hawley methodically laid out documented evidence from major universities across the country. Each citation intensified the gravity of the moment. The witness struggled to provide clear answers as the questions grew sharper. Senators and spectators alike sensed the shift unfolding in real time. What was once framed as protest began to look like lawbreaking. The issue of immigration status suddenly became impossible to separate from public safety. Hawley's tone remained firm as he drew a clear line between free speech and criminal conduct. The hearing exposed uncomfortable contradictions in how the system is enforced. Silence from the panel only amplified the tension in the room. Viewers watching at home could feel the weight of the unanswered questions. This exchange struck at the heart of national values and legal consistency. It challenged long-standing assumptions about tolerance and enforcement. The debate was no longer partisan, it was moral. Hawley's words forced a choice into the open.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Hawley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thanks to all of the witnesses for being here. Ms. Pacheco, if I could just start with you. Your organization, the Dream.us, you provide support for undocumented young people for college and career success. Is that broadly right? Am I getting it right?
That's correct.
And among the things you do is you provide scholarships to these undocumented students. Have I got that correct?
That's right.
And so college scholarships, just to be clear.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. Can you tell me, maybe you know the answer to this, maybe you don't, any of the students, do you know if any of the students to whom your organization has provided a college scholarship are currently part of the encampments on any of these college campuses, like the picture you see behind me? I'm sure we've all seen these videos.
No, Senator.
Nobody to whom you provide scholarships are part of the encampments?
I do not know.
Oh, you don't know. What about, do you know if any of the students to whom you provided scholarships have physically threatened Jewish students on campus?
I do not know.
Here's why I'm asking. NBC News just reported, and I'm just going to quote now from the article, quote, this is Columbia University, a Columbia undergraduate who provided only her initials because she is an undocumented immigrant and fears deportation, said last week she spent hours a day in the encampment. This would be the illegal encampment that's in violation of the law as well as campus policy. Spent hours a day in the encampment, I'm quoting still now, before university officials threatened to suspend those students. The article goes on, she joined, this student, joined a supplies platoon. That's a subgroup formed by pro-Palestinian campus organizers, end quote. Let me just review some of the things that these students, these in the encampments that is, are saying. And of course, we often don't know who these students are. They're concealing their identities. This is, I'm going to read to you now, and I just warn folks, this is not pleasant stuff, but these are the facts, and we have to tell the truth. This is just from last night at George Washington University. That's here in this town. They projected, the students in the encampment there projected onto various buildings images of the United States flag being burned with the graphics, "Gaza lights the spark that will set the empire ablaze." They projected the following: "Long live the student intifada. Down with the settler state." That would be the state of Israel, I suppose. "Glory to the martyrs of Palestine." It's a jihadist slogan. "Stained with the blood of 44,000 Palestinians." That's last night at GW. Also at GW, they're now calling for beheading, the student encampment, beheading of individuals who support the state of Israel, including holding a people's tribunal where they're putting on trial, quote unquote, various members of their own board of trustees and calling for a guillotine. Here's Columbia University students on April the 20th, 2024. This is all public record. I'm reading this now. This is on, I guess it's X. Columbia University students yelling at Jewish students, and I quote, "Never forget October 7th. It will not happen, it will happen, not one more time, not 5 more times, not 10, not 100, not 1,000, but 10,000 times. The 7th of October is going to be every day for you." The 7th of October, this is to Jewish students, is going to be every day for you, end quote. I guess my question is, Ms. Pacheco, and for anybody else on the panel too, shouldn't we be deporting these students? If we have undocumented students who are here unlawfully in the country who are violating the law, let's just be clear here now, this is a violation of the law, and if they're also deliberately inciting persecution of a person on account of their race, which surely calling for the murder of Jews does that, shouldn't we be deporting them? Does anybody think we shouldn't be? Shouldn't we be deporting these students who are here unlawfully? Ms. Pacheco?
Senator, we expect a lot from our scholars, and the scholars and the students that I know love this country, respect this country, and want to and enrich not only the campuses, but also this country.
That's fantastic, and I hope and bet that none of the people that you sponsor are part of this. And I certainly hope that's the case. But I just wondered, is there anybody on the panel who thinks that we should not deport students who are here unlawfully, who are engaging in this activity, who are calling for the death of Jewish students, who are violating the laws of the United States? I mean, shouldn't we be deporting these people? Does anybody want to defend it and say, no, we shouldn't? They should absolutely be here. I think it's indefensible. The record reflects there's total silence from the panel. You know, I also think we ought to cancel the student visas, and I've called for this. For those who are here from other countries with a visa, I think if they're part of this, we ought to be canceling their visas. We ought to send a clear message. Actually, Ms. Pacheco, I think it was you in your opening statement put it really beautifully about how part of what we're talking here today represents the character of the country. I think that's very appropriate. And we need to send a message about this activity, not just about the trespassing and the destruction of buildings. That's bad, that's unlawful. But the threats of violence, and in some cases the outright acts of violence against Jewish students, we should send a moral message that if you do that and you are here unlawfully, you should be deported. If you are here on a student visa, you ought to have your visa canceled. This is the United States of America, and we are not going to stand for it. And I would just hope we could speak with one moral voice on this issue. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Whitehouse.
Thank you, Chairman.
Should laws apply equally or selectively? Should threats and intimidation be excused based on status? By the time the question was fully asked, the room was already holding its breath. What followed would ignite a nationwide conversation that continues to grow louder by the day. The hearing closed, with Senator Hawley making a case that many Americans believe needed to be said out loud. His argument was not rooted in anger, but in enforcement, accountability, and consistency. He drew a clear distinction between lawful protest and unlawful behavior that threatens others. By doing so, he reframed the conversation away from politics and toward responsibility. Hawley emphasized that compassion without boundaries ultimately weakens the rule of law. He reminded the room that immigration status does not exempt anyone from legal consequences. The silence from the panel reinforced the seriousness of his point. It suggested an unwillingness to confront an issue that has grown increasingly volatile. Hawley's stance resonated with those who believe laws must mean something to remain effective. He argued that allowing unlawful actions to go unchecked sends a dangerous signal nationwide. Campuses, he stressed, should never become safe havens for intimidation or hate. His call for deportation and visa revocation was framed as enforcement, not hostility. According to him, a visa is a privilege that carries expectations of lawful conduct. When those expectations are violated, consequences must follow. Hawley also underscored the importance of protecting Jewish students from threats and harassment. He made it clear that moral clarity requires action, not silence. The United States, he argued, cannot claim to oppose hate while tolerating it through inaction. His remarks reflected a broader concern about fairness and equal application of the law. Many viewers saw his approach as direct but necessary. He challenged institutions to stop avoiding hard decisions. Hawley positioned accountability as a form of respect for the nation itself. He insisted that enforcing the law protects both citizens and legal immigrants. The hearing revealed a gap between rhetoric and responsibility. Hawley's questions exposed that gap without apology. Supporters believe his position restores balance to the debate. He did not ask for special treatment, only equal enforcement. His message was that standards matter in a functioning society. By the end of the exchange, the issue was unmistakably clear. The rule of law, once questioned, must be defended decisively. Hawley's stance left a lasting impression that continues to shape the national conversation.